Today I saw something unsettling, I guess. I'm not sure what to make of it, but I didn't like it. I'm trying to say what I didn't like about it. It was just... But I'm not sure. It was trying too hard to look natural, you know? Like when someone is smiling at you for too long and their smile never relaxes. Should I tell them that No, probably not yet. Mental note. After this case, I'll go back to that spot at the same time and watch. If it happens again... Case number 029, the man at the end of the bed. Preliminary case notes. Urgent S.O.S. from Ellery College in New England. It's one of the most venerated and one of the oldest universities in the nation, a gem of the Ivy League. The college was founded in 1734, and over the centuries, it has played host to dozens of ghostly legends, from Minutemen wandering around looking for a revolutionary battle, to forlorn widows of drowned sea captains waiting for their husbands to return. All very typical ghost stories in that area. But there's one campus legend that is specific to Ellery College that, I gather, has attached itself to one of the students, almost like a leech. At least, that was what I was able to glean from the terrified, not very coherent phone call from a Mr. Jude Carver. I managed to decipher the legend's name, though, the man at the end of the bed. From the little research I could uncover, it seems like some kind of boogeyman spirit, a night terror that frightens children into good behavior. Is it something to motivate good grades? I've never heard of a monster in a closet being used as a tutor before. Certainly a weird study aid if it were true. Personally, I'm not big on using trauma narratives to manipulate behavior. But there's not a lot of resources about the man at the end of the bed. Ellery College keeps him confined to the campus, whispered from student to student over the generations. The university is happy to encourage legends about ghostly Minutemen and sailing widows, but this homegrown spirit is kept under lock and key. Why? And how is it hurting a student? I have a feeling this may be more dangerous than a mere bump in the night. Before I talk to Jude Carver, I'm going to need to go to Ellery College and find out more about this legend. Mental note. Take a Polaroid next to the statue of the founder to mail to Jerry. I kind of want to test the theory that anything related to Ellery College makes smoke come out of Jerry's ears. Ellery is the lifelong rival of Jerry's alma mater. Call it infernal curiosity on my part. Call it revenge for him letting Salin leave little dead presents in my slippers when he watched my cat the last time. You're still in trouble about that, mister. Interview with Dr. Mavis Schroeder, Ph.D., Professor of Sociology here at Ellery College. Thank you for making time to speak with me, Dr. Schroeder. What can you tell me about this campus boogeyman? I believe he goes under the name The Man at the End of the Bed.
You understand, Miss Emerson, that I expected this discussion to be off the record?
Not to worry. These tapes are for my ears only. I prefer to record my notes, interviews, and findings to avoid bias or contextualizing or reinterpreting them like I might if I transcribed them. My evidence is there exactly as I see and hear it.
Quite a scientific approach to a unique career.
I think of myself as a problem solver. If someone believes they're being haunted by a malevolent spirit, who will they turn to? I try to be accurate, evidence-based, and open-minded in how I approach each case. I don't mislead my clients. Most of the time, these hauntings are fraudulent, but if I'm able to expose the fraud and remove the fear, where's the harm in that? If people sleep better at night because I was able to lift back the curtain and show them the truth, I'd say I've done my job well, wouldn't you?
And you say a student contacted you? Why didn't you talk to the student first?
I wanted to get a lay of the land first. I couldn't find much on this entity he alleged was terrorizing him. If it's campus lore, what better place than on campus to learn about it?
It's not a part of campus lore Ellery wants to celebrate. The school wishes the legend would just die already. The man at the end of the bed reflects a very dark spot in our long history. I'm afraid the school would love to throw you off this campus if they found out what you were doing, Miss Emerson. But the story is fascinating in how it sustains itself throughout the generations and within the student body. It's almost a rite of passage. You aren't a true Ellery student until you get scared witless by the tale of the man at the end of the bed.
And what is this tale?
It's grown and mutated over the years. He dates from the early 20th century. No one is 100% sure who the man was. Some placed him as a drifter, some a deacon at the school chapel. The most common legend told by students here is that he was a former teacher who used to break into student housing and watch the students as they slept. Just standing there in the shadows, watching, staring down at them from the end of the bed. Each generation adds new motives as to why he would watch the kids as they slept. Then, well, the story takes a darker turn. He started touching the students while they slept. Where and how has changed over the years, but the main thing that always stuck is that he'd run a finger along the student's cheek. Well, one night, several of the kids caught him in the act, and they executed him.
Executed him?
They subdued the man and shrouded him in bedsheets, like a cocoon. On a bright autumn day, they dragged him out to the quad to the Minuteman statue. You've seen it, right? The bronze man with his musket aimed high in the air. Before World War I, the statue had a sharpened bayonet attached to the musket barrel. The students dragged the man to the statue and skewered him on the bayonet. Legend says they left him bleeding there for 2 weeks as a warning not to cross Ellery students. Ever.
Is that true?
In its bare facts, yes, it is. Around 1905, there were rumors and reports of a peeping Tom on campus. Nothing substantiated. Then a few of the boys captured a guy and killed him just how I described, impaled on the statue in a cocoon of fabric. They said he was terrorizing them, but no trial, no evidence, no real proof that this was the case. The university was horrified. All that was known was that their students executed a man in broad daylight. They did everything they could to hide it, expelled the students responsible, made sure they were tried and convicted. Cover-ups, media spin, censorship, you name it. The school chopped off the bayonet from the statue just to be safe. But the student body got hold of the story and turned the man at the end of the bed into the campus boogeyman, a bump in the night. The RAs gather the freshmen on bonfire night and tell the story. Someone will usually grab one of the kids' knees at the scary part to make them scream. So far, it's been relatively harmless. A ghost story.
Yes, so far.
You have a point there. If a student claims to be terrorized by this monster, wouldn't it be remiss of us as faculty to ignore a cry for help? Sadly, most of the student body, faculty, and campus security think the poor kid is just cracking under the pressure of being an Ellery student. I think I know the student you say contacted you. He's in one of my classes. Bright kid, scholarship winner, completely falling apart. His grades are slipping badly, and he looks hunted. Yes, that's the word. He's being hunted. But we're not sure by what. Everything points to a figment of his own imagination.
I'll just have to make sure of that, won't I? Well, thank you for your time and insight, Dr. Schroeder. I'll see myself out.
Like we told you, Miss Emerson, Jude's not here right now. He's in class. Well, he's actually probably sleeping in class. He didn't get any sleep last night either.
Well, then this gives us a chance to talk freely, Mr. Leahy. Interview with Dennis Leahy and Joel MacArthur, Ellery College students and roommates of Jude Carter.
You're seriously going to record us?
You're under no obligation to talk to me, Mr. MacArthur. I'm just making sure I get accurate notes to help your friend out. We do want to help him, don't we?
Well, yeah, but I didn't think he'd hire a paranormal investigator.
He asked for help, so here I am.
Look, let me level with you for a moment. You know this stuff isn't real, right? Feeding into Jude's paranoia is just going to hurt him further. It's only a scary story the upperclassmen tell freshers to spook them. When I first heard the legend my freshman year, someone's door slammed too loudly at 3 a.m. that night, and I nearly wet myself in fright. But I got over it. When Jude accepts that's just a bad stress dream, he'll get over it too.
Even if he keeps having this so-called bad stress dream night after night after night?
Okay, so Dennis didn't put it very delicately, but he does have a point. It's a legend, like the local urban legend that one student at Ellery goes insane once a year. That's a lie. It's more like half a dozen. Ellery College is an insanely tough school to get into, and even harder to stay in. The stress is almost ludicrous. The standard of excellence is off the charts. The professors demand better than your best in every course. I remember having a full panic attack when my first term paper was due.
Jude's a nice guy, but he just might be in over his head. It's nothing personal. The school is tough on us. We all have mini breakdowns from time to time.
Sounds like a healthy environment for learning.
It's one of the best universities in the Western Hemisphere for a reason, and not because of a musty old ghost story.
Then let's do as you say. Level with me. Jude says the man at the end of the bed is tormenting him. So something in that legend resonated with him. If there's something seriously wrong, why did it spark that specific legend? It's not just any entity. Jude specifically cites the man at the end of the bed. So to figure out the truth, I need to start from there. What's the current legend, boys?
I don't know about this. I mean, it's just a ghost story.
There are more things in heaven and earth, Horatio, than are dreamt of in your philosophy. Humor me, Mr. MacArthur.
Well, before World War I, there was a teacher here who used to slither into any housing with an Ellery student. He was spindly and as thin as a twig, so he could fold himself into little corners and crevices to hide until it was dark. Then he would creep into your bedroom and watch you as you slept. Watch your chest rise and fall with each breath. Watched your eyelids flutter as you dreamed. He wanted to find his perfect companion.
A plaything. A pet. Night after night, he hunted among the students for the one he wanted, while some of the students caught him. And on a bright, sunny day, they killed him by impaling his stomach on the musket of the Minuteman statue. They left him to slowly bleed out his blood, cursing the campus forever. Word has it, he's still out there, stalking the students till he finds the one, only a shadow of what he used to be.
And we mean shadow. Since he was executed in broad daylight, all light is his enemy. He sticks to the shadows, waiting until nightfall to hunt. He moves sightlessly to the student housing, using his fingers to find even the slightest termite hole to slither into your room. You can hear him tapping a lone finger against the walls, trying to find a way in. Eventually, he'll find a pane of glass.
He'll use his long, sharp nail to score the glass, slicing the merest hole he can worm through. He can flatten his body into a shadow and slip into your house. No problem. Nothing can keep him out. Some people catch him standing as a shadow at the end of their bed. Eyes like glass, big, dark, empty windows. But when they turn on the lights, he vanishes. Light chases him out. But if you don't catch him, you're screwed.
You're not in serious trouble until you feel his touch. He'll reach out his long, bony finger and caress your cheek. A soft, tender caress. his sharp nail tickling the smooth, pliant flesh on your face. If you feel his touch, it means he's marked you as his favorite.
What's going on?
Interview with Jude Carver, a student at Ellery College. Now, in your own words, tell me what's going on here.
Do I have to?
It's the fastest way for me to help you. There's no need to edit yourself. Be open and honest. Everything between us is strictly confidential.
You promise?
On my soul as a professional investigator.
I'm tired. I'm tired of people staring at me through the corners of their eyes. Like they think I can't see them do it. I'm tired of being gawked at. I'm tired of being singled out. I work so hard to get into this school. Ellery hands out one scholarship every 2 years, and I work my tail off to get it. I can't lose it, Miss Emerson. I just can't. My life will be ruined.
Easy does it. Just breathe. Tell me what happened.
It wasn't much at first. The RAs told us that story at bonfire night. I didn't think much of it at the time. I mean, I didn't like it, really. It's not the kind of story I like to hear. But it was just some creepy legend they used to try and freak us out. A prank. Nothing happened that night, and I didn't think of it again. Like anyone could. The workload here is backbreaking. But then, a couple weeks ago, I heard something while I was asleep. Tapping on the walls. Outside this window. I've been a light sleeper since I was a kid, so little noises like that tend to wake me up. They were sets of 3 taps, repeating over and over again. Like someone searching for something, trying to see through touch and sound. I looked outside, but I couldn't see anyone or anything. I didn't think it was, him. But, well, I don't particularly like being woken up by little secret searching noises. So I slept with the lights on that night. Dennis and Joel weren't happy about that. Then the next night I heard them. And the next night. And the next. Crawling outside the walls. Wanting to find a way in. That's when I started remembering the story about that guy. It was getting harder to fall back asleep after I heard them. I started remembering... No, you don't want to hear about that. A few days ago, it got worse. The tapping was on my window. A fingernail tapping. He found glass. And then I heard this awful squeal. Nails on a chalkboard. The screech of a demon. Something clawing at my window. I leapt out of bed, but I couldn't see anyone outside. I pressed my hands against the glass to get a better look, and the glass exploded. Shattered in my bare hands. Shards of glass tore open my fingers, and one even punctured through my palm. Blood got all over the room. I don't think I ever screamed that much in my life. It scared the daylights out of my roomies. We spent all night in the emergency room, and I spent a further 2 days in hospital under observation. God, the pain is terrible. I can barely get through classes without wanting to rip off my own hands. The meds barely do anything but make it harder to sleep. I have to wear these gloves so that people won't stare at my bandages all the time. They do, stare at me and whisper at each other. Look, there's that guy who says his hands were mutilated by the Boogeyman, driving his roommates bonkers. It makes me feel like a freak. School found out about my accident and dragged me to the counselor's office to make sure I wasn't self-harming. I couldn't tell them what happened. They'd think I was going crazy. Oh God, what if I am going crazy?
Deep breaths. You're doing fine. What happened next?
I think I made it worse, Miss Emerson. You're supposed to turn on a light if you hear him in your room. But I didn't. Somehow I broke that window and I let him in. He's in this room, watching me. Every time I try to fall asleep, I can feel him in this room. Sometimes I hear him tapping in my closet at the end of the bed. But I never see him. I just know he's there, studying me. I'm terrified he's going to touch me. Just like... No, I can't do this. Please don't make me.
Jude, listen to me. Deep breaths. You're okay. It's daylight. You're safe now. Breathe. You're going to be okay. There's more to this story, isn't there? Something that makes it more personal for you.
My stepfather has been abusing me since I was 7. He drugged my mom some nights in her after-dinner coffee, and then he'd come to my room. He would stand there at the end of the bed, watching me. I'd try to hide under my blankets. Before he'd do anything, he'd lick his thumb to make it wet. He threatens to kill me if I ever told anyone about what he does. When I try to sleep lately, I keep seeing him, my stepdad, as the man at the end of the bed, licking his thumb, wanting to touch me. Oh God, I can't do this anymore, Miss Emerson. I did everything I could to escape that house. If I flunk out of Ellery, I'll have to go back home. Back to him. Please don't let that happen. I'll die if I go back.
You won't go back. I'll make sure you get to stay here, whether someone wants you to or not. I'm not 100% sure why I'm leaving a trail for the college to find. It must be havoc. But I just wanted to record any observations and plans I have. I'm doing something that might get me thrown out. I'm spending the night in Jude's room. Jude will be sleeping on the sofa in the living room tonight, while I stake out his room to see if I can get any activity. I'm working out a hypothesis. I hope we can keep this all under the radar, so Ellery College doesn't haul me out with a hook like that terrible vaudeville act. Jude's room is fairly normal. The window's been replaced since the glass shattered. It's a nice room in an older New England house. Still got the old radiators and vents in place. It's interesting to see the room contrast against his modern tastes. Sneakers on the floor, posters of bands he likes, twin bed, banged-up dresser, a closet full of clothes at the foot of the bed, a desk crammed with books and papers, bedside tables with lamps, laundry hamper. Jude's medication. He's a very neat and tidy young man. Everything has its proper place. Probably so he can feel safe and have easy escape routes. What a terrible thing to happen to him. And the state of his desk reinforces how his schoolwork is slipping out of his control. Something I noticed is how big the scholarship is that Jude won. It's a full ride. And Jude's family, well, they didn't come from money. So this scholarship is a huge deal for him if he loses it. Well, tonight I hope to see, or at least hear, the man at the end of the bed in action. I wonder if my hunch will play out. Well, only one way to find out. Nighty-night. Well, guess what? Nothing happened. Not a single peep. No late night terrors. No nightmares. No creepy tapping. Exactly what I suspected. I haven't slept that well in years. Even Jude got a good night's sleep. Looked nearly chipper, in fact. Sadly, word got out I was on campus, and security, well, let's just say, it's not the first time I was shooed from a haunted site, and it won't be the last. If I walk back on Ellery College campus, they might ban me for life. Oh well, I'm not bothered. I've got someone on the inside.
Oh, hi, Miss Emerson. Can you hear me? Am I doing this right? I'm gonna record what happens here when you're not around, just like you asked. But what if nothing happens? I mean, last night I slept great. Maybe it's all in my head, right? No need to do any more of this. But what if that...
Hey, Jude! Get to bed already! It's creepy when you talk to yourself, man.
Right. I guess it won't hurt to leave this thing on at least. You don't scare me. You never have. I'm going back to bed. Why won't this lamp work? Turn on, please. Turn on! Ah, my hands! Ah! Oh. Oh, God, help me. He's here. I see him. He's sliding out of my closet. Flat as a shadow. Oh, God. No. Please, no. Don't come near me. Please don't touch me. Don't. No, please. No!
Damn it, Jude! Some of us have exams tomorrow. We'd like to get some lousy sleep already. Oh, get out from under the covers! What is it now?
He's here. I saw him standing at the end of my bed. He's coming out of my closet.
I can't take this anymore. Look! Look! There's nothing in there. There's never been anything in there.
But I saw him.
No, you didn't see. Now let that be the end of it. Please.
Can we all stop yelling? The neighbors are going to kill us.
Joel, I have had it. I can't live like this anymore. These midnight wake-up calls are frying my nerves. We have got to discuss whether all three of us can live together anymore.
You're throwing me out?
If I have to.
Okay. We're all stressed and tired. Let's not do this now. But maybe you should sleep on the sofa again, Jude. This room is making you nuts. And I've got to sleep or I'll fall unconscious during my lab tomorrow. Bed. Now.
I don't know if I can live like this anymore.
It always helps to have someone on the inside. Dr. Schroeder has been a huge help in identifying and ousting the ones responsible. When she heard Jude's tape with me, she started to understand. That's what I wanted. Proof Jude wasn't crazy. Someone was tormenting him. We heard those taps on tape. And what's more, it gave me all the proof I personally needed. because no one would be able to arrange all that without being in the house at the time. So that pointed to one of 3 students, including Jude. And in my mind, it pointed definitely toward 2 of them, Dennis and Joel, tag team torture. They worked together to drive their roommate out of his wits and out of Ellery College for good. Why? A terrible case of we don't think you belong here. Jude's family was poor, but this full ride to Ellery College will change his life forever. However, Dennis and Joel didn't like him being there. They thought he didn't live up to Ellery's standards. They hated his talent and his impoverished upbringing. They resented his full ride and decided, like judge, jury, and executioner, to chase him out of the school, to harass him until he dropped out, or his grades got so bad that he lost his scholarship. They didn't think he was of Ellery's stock, shall we say. Disgusting, isn't it? Jude isn't very good at hiding his feelings, so when he came home from bonfire night, clearly affected by the legend of the man at the end of the bed, his roommates came up with their plan. It was pretty easy to make all those sounds. It was just a bit of Foley work, like in the movies. Dennis and Joel would tap on the walls in their respective rooms with all the vents open. The vents acted like speaking tubes, funneling the sounds into Jude's bedroom. That way they didn't need to go outside. The glass taps was simply a metal nail tapped against a drinking glass, again using the vents as speaking tubes. Simple and clever. The glass shattering, though, that was a very nasty trick. But it was my first clue about what really happened. When glass is scored, it focuses all the pressure you put on the glass into one fixed point, which can result in a clean break, if you know what you're doing. Well, Dennis went outside one day, when Jude was at class, and used a glass cutter to score a web of thin lines all across the window pane. That night, when Jude pressed against the window, the force of that pressure shattered all those little score lines, wounding him severely. A destructive and dangerous trick, designed to force Jude out by injuring him. Dennis was always more direct in his approach. And that whistling screech of the glass being scored by the man's fingernail? Well, unpleasant, right? It's a fork being scraped against a ceramic plate. More low-tech Foley sounds played through the vents. When I heard it on tape, I knew this whole act was a hoax. Because when glass is scored, it sounds like tearing tissue paper, not some whistling squeal. But they chose this so it would be loud enough to hear through the vents. Jude stayed after his accident, however, so the duo went further. Joel doctored Jude's pain medication. They were just sugar and caffeine pills. I thought they looked funny in the bottle, so I borrowed a couple to have them tested. Sure enough, almost placebos. No wonder Jude said he couldn't sleep. He was wired on caffeine and a sugar high all night. That added to his sleep deprivation, making his resistance weaker and his mind more suggestible. Dennis and Joel had no idea of Jude's personal trauma, which just added to his suffering. When I stayed the night, Dennis and Joel refused to do any of their tricks in case they were exposed. I suspected as much. They wanted Jude and the school to think he was losing his mind. No way they were going to try and convince an outsider. That's why I left the recorder with Jude. If I was there, nothing would happen. Dennis and Joel tried one last trick to force Jude to leave. The actual man at the end of the bed. Have you ever woken up in the middle of the night, when it's dark, and you see a figure standing in your bed looking at you? But you turn on the lights, and it's just clothes hanging on the closet door? That's all it was. When Jude went to bed, Joel snuck into his room, opened the closet door, and hung some dark clothes on a hanger on the edge of the door. The lamps had already been tampered with to make sure that they didn't work. So in the dark, and suffering with sleep deprivation and wired on caffeine, what did Jude see? A man, as flat as a shadow, sliding out from the closet. The tried and true Boogeyman. He hid under the covers, a reflexive response from his childhood trauma. Dennis came in and shoved the clothes back in the closet, so he could play the part of the skeptic. Classic misdirection. This way, they felt they would be justified in kicking Jude out for his midnight wake-up calls. Well, we managed to stop them. Jude moved into a new dorm with better roommates, and Dr. Schroeder tells me his grades are improving rapidly. Dennis and Joel were kicked out for terrorizing another Ellery student. So much for all that hard work staying in that school. Serves them right. And Ellery College so kindly suggested I stay away from their campus if I was going to be raking up those demons that they want to keep dead and buried. Gotta love the Ivy League, right? Really, it was the competitive, high-stakes, and bloodthirsty culture of Ellery College that fed into this terror and even the murder in the past. This sense of judge, jury, and executioner the student body embraced. They felt they were the best, and therefore they could pass judgment. At least I got through this case without dangling off the ladder. Never again. Jerry certainly didn't like the Polaroid I sent him from the campus, and I was treated to a very amusing dinner date where I told him what happened, and I got to listen to him rail against Ellery for a solid 30 minutes. A brand new record. Mental note. Buy Jerry that watch he's been eyeing for 3 months to let him know there are no hard feelings. Case number 029 closed. Results: human agency, with some good old-fashioned justice thrown in. Before I forget, mental note. Tuesday, 7:30 p.m., Quail Park. Be there. Like absolute oblivion in here, a place of nothingness, any crossroads between life and death. Where does this lead? Was that a wedding dress? A rocking horse floating over my head. Where am I? With these sounds, grinding, chugging, churning, gurgling. What is this place? And what is that terrible smell?